So I'm going to call tonight's episode of WWE Monday Night Raw, How to Kill Momentum in One Simple Evening. So, like I said, I just got done watching Raw, and usually I would wait till the morning, but I got a lot of things I want to get off my chest, and it works very well for the fact I'm wearing an Impact Wrestling shirt today. So, I didn't do that on purpose, obviously. You know that, because if you saw the Celebrity Apprentice recap from yesterday, you know that I did not do that on purpose. Now, let's get to this abomination. I'm going to say right now that the crowd in East Rutherford, New Jersey last week, obviously, everyone has said it over and over again, it was an amazing crowd. And I think the only person I know that really did not like the way the crowd went was Doug from the WNS podcast. And Doug, you are entitled to your opinion. I totally understand that. And I appreciate your opinion. But personally, I like the crowd. And some of the chants were a little pointless. It was a case of them trying to get themselves over. Excuse me. But, overall, it made the show better. Take you back to the Attitude Era crowds when the fans cared about cheering or booing whomever they wanted to. Not exactly who was face or heel, but exactly who they wanted to cheer for. We never would have Stone Cold Steve Austin if it wasn't for fans in the Attitude Era, obviously. And them latching on to Dolph Ziggler or CM Punk or Fandango further makes that work, honestly. This crowd, we were in, I believe, Greenville. Oh, I thought it was being Greensboro, but we weren't. We were in Greenville, South Carolina, and we started the show off with a rematch from SmackDown that I don't think should have happened on SmackDown. I don't understand what happened here. Now, before I get started talking about this match, I'm going to say right now, why does it take two men to beat the Big Show? Really? Big Show's 500 pounds. I get that. Probably more by now. I don't know. You have Sheamus, who's, 270 or so? Randy Orton, 260 or so? Okay. Barring that, think about it from this perspective. All three men are former multiple-time World Heavyweight Champions. Some of them have been WWE Champions. I believe all three of them have. And there's no reason for there to be handicap matches between the three of them. Three-ways? Sure. Whatever. But singles matches? Fine. Okay. But no handicap matches. I don't understand why they keep doing this. But they gave us another one, so I have to review it. Obviously, the rematch from SmackDown that shouldn't have happened there, but only happened there because they wanted to give both Sheamus and Randy Orton exactly what they wanted, a shot at redemption against the Big Show. So they made that handicap match for SmackDown. Well, I didn't like it on SmackDown, and I don't think I'll like it here, so let's talk about it. So, basically, the Big Show powers Sheamus back into the corner. Sheamus fights back, he locks on the side headlock. Big Show counters into a side slam and nails a shot to Sheamus' chest. Sheamus hits a big red hand, the right hand, and Show tries to counter this time, but Sheamus counters right back, hanging Show on the ropes. We see the battering ram from the top rope on a Show for two. The fiery red hand, obviously, is the giant chops, like the clubbering blows in the chest, so we'll go with that. So, the battering ram only gets a 2 count. Show sends Sheamus crashing to the outside. Series of chops to the chest by the Big Show. And we see the reemergence of the final cut, which we haven't seen for quite a while, on Sheamus. Sheamus tries to fight back, but Show works over the arm. So he nails a forearm to the back. Sheamus, off the ropes, walks into another side slab. Excuse me. Big Show goes up top. Sheamus picks up Show on his shoulders with an electric chair and delivers it. It looks really good, actually. So, Orton hits a series of clotheslines and a dropkick, which knocks Big Show on the canvas. Nice big boot on the Big Show. Orton drops him with the DDT. He hits the snake bite off the ropes. So he's looking for the RKO. Big Show counters, grabs Orton in the goozle. This time, Sheamus hits the Brogue Kick, which staggers him long enough to walk him right into the RKO. 1, 2, 3. About 6.5 minutes. So after this, Michael Cole, Jerry Lawler, and JBL all highlighted 3MB's interruption of Triple H this past Friday night on SmackDown, and how that really didn't fare too well, as they were pretty much beaten senseless by the Shield. So, Josh Matthews in the back with Heath Slater and Jinder Mahal, Andrew McIntyre. Slater cuts right to the point. He says, "We're going to call out the Shield tonight." That's a dumb move. So, that's probably going to come next, and it certainly does, right after we come back from commercial break. 3MB are coming out, and they're calling out Call Out the Shield. So, they badmouth the Shield for stealing the spotlight because they wanted to make an impact by jumping Triple H, and because they were attacked by the Shield, they were unable to do exactly what they came out to do, which obviously was get over by jumping Triple H. So, they're waiting, and here comes Brock Lesnar. Yeah, I think they'd probably been a little bit better off if it was the Shield. So, Brock gets in the ring, disposes of Slater and Mahal, F5s Drew McIntyre, hard to the canvas. So, Slater thinks better of entering the ring, and he powders to the outside. Lesnar shows cat-like reflexes and mows him over with a clothesline on the outside. And then picks up Slater and delivers not one, but 2 devastating F5s onto the barricade. The second one hanging him out to dry. Finally, Paul Heyman comes out and says, they've had enough, you've made your point, let's get in the ring and do what we came here to do. So Heyman gets on the mic and says, "I'll give credit to you, Triple H. You're the only man I've ever known to knock out Brock Lesnar." Of course, via sledgehammer and steel steps, not on his own volition, punches, kicks, what have you. He's earned his respect. And if he was here tonight, he would shake his hand right in the middle of this very ring. But with that being said, there is a rubber match that needs to happen between the two, because obviously they've had one win apiece. So they need to determine the true alpha male of the WWE. With the upcoming Extreme Rules pay-per-view, Lesnar, with the help from Paul Heyman's voice, obviously, proposes this idea that tears flesh, a down-and-dirty, old-school steel cage match. And since he knows that he's down, he's got 2 words for Triple H: challenge issued. So, just like broke on the internet earlier today, we are going to be getting Triple H and Brock Lesnar inside a steel cage at Extreme Rules as the first of many matches that were set up for Extreme Rules on this Raw. I guess you could say, other than killing momentum tonight, one thing that Raw did do was it set up new challengers for championships, and sometimes that's a good thing, but it also makes the new champion that just won their belt look a little bit weak. But we'll get to that in a little bit. So up next, we get our United States champion Antonio Cesaro finally back on Raw, taking on Kofi Kingston, who of course upset the US champion on SmackDown last Friday night. So Kofi comes out, and here comes Cesaro, and he's yodeling. He's still yodeling, folks. They had to give him a gimmick. The Swiss strongman, the very European, it didn't work for WWE. They wanted to make him a yodeler. Yeah. Antonio Cesaro, and I've said this numerous times on this very show, and if you talk to me in person, I will say the same thing to your face. Antonio Cesaro, pound for pound, is one of the best wrestlers in the WWE locker room, without any question. The only people that really can compete with him, probably Daniel Bryan, Dolph Ziggler, and there's a couple others, but, I mean, Cesaro is pretty much on a plane all by himself. But rumor has it Vince is not too high on Antonio Cesaro. So, we get this match. And, as usual, we come back from commercial break. Right before we come back from commercial break, Antonio Cesaro ducks Trouble in Paradise, hits Swiss Death, and Kofi kicks out. And right at that, we go to commercial. And we come back from break. Cesaro is pushing his bootlaces into the neck of Kofi and hitting kind of a modified Otani boot scrape, like the face wash. He's kind of face washing him slightly. Not using the boot, but using the laces of the boot in order to rake across the face. Very useful. So Cesaro hits the clothesline. Kofi looks for SOS, and Cesaro counters with a headbutt right to the upper chest. So short jabs by Cesaro to Kofi. Kofi ends up hitting SOS out of absolutely nowhere, but Cesaro grabs the ropes right at 3 to make the save before he lost his championship. Cesaro hits a back elbow. Kingston hits Trouble in Paradise, but momentum knocks Cesaro all the way out of the ring to the arena floor, and when Kofi finally can get him back into the ring to capitalize on the pinfall, Cesaro does kick out. Kofi heads up top, going for the frog crossbody, the ginormous flying body press, but he gets caught and turn around in a modified tilt-a-whirl backbreaker for a near fall. So basically, Kingston hits the boot right between the eyes. He goes top for the springboard. This time, he goes for the neutralizer, reversed into a sunset flip. Nice sequence of roll-ups by Kofi. Kingston rolls him up to his feet, connects with Trouble in Paradise. 1, 2, 3, we have a new champion. 9.5 minutes. Decent match. And I hate to say this, but now that Cesaro's lost the United States Championship, and obviously lost the favor of the WWE creative team, and as well as Vince McMahon, maybe we can start getting some great matches out of Cesaro again. Cesaro is always great in the ring, but when he was champion, he really didn't get to shine as much as he could have. So, unless we're just going to give it right back to him next week on Raw, kind of like what they did with The Miz and Wade Barrett with the Intercontinental Championship. But I'll talk about that travesty in a little bit, the travesty of the Intercontinental Championship. So after the match, Kofi gets on the mic, says he's brought the U.S. Championship back home. Okay, where's Kofi from now? Obviously, we called him the fake and Jamaican for a reason, obviously. He come out from Kingston, Jamaica. He has the dreadlocks, he has the cool runnings accent, but it doesn't really work, so they rebill him from Ghana, West Africa. And he says he brought the championship back home. Does that mean home to the U.S.? He is another in a long line of United States champions that is not of American descent. But I guess that's how it works. So, big win for Kofi. Nice to see him back in the picture. I'm sure Alan's going to be happy, because that means that almost guarantees the fact he'll be at Raw on April 29th. Because, I don't know, for some reason, Alan's a mark for Kofi Kingston. He asked specifically, when he got to WrestleMania if Kofi was going to be there. Or before he got to WrestleMania if Kofi was going to be there. And we'll have to tell him he didn't know. He didn't think so. But he showed up, of course, during the WrestleMania Sports Center we had for the pre-show. But Alan wasn't there for that, so he didn't get to see that. But he'll probably get to see his boy live on Raw on the 29th, defending the United States Championship. So, yeah, it's one of those wait-and-see situations for Kofi. Obviously, Kofi's had big pushes in the past with the Intercontinental Championship, with Tag Team Championships. He had a great feud with Randy Orton. And they always seem to not want to pull the trigger at the very last minute. Or if they do, it's kind of a delayed start. And we go back to square one. So, who knows where this is going to go. To be totally honest, I think I know exactly where this is going to go. And I'm going to say it before most people can, because I know I saw it on Twitter a lot, and it came to my mind immediately. You know the reason Kofi Kingston won the won the United States Championship this evening? So he could drop the championship to Fandango. That's right, earlier this weekend, Stone Cold Steve Austin went on Twitter and made a very bold prediction. Fandango would be Intercontinental Champion within 3 months. Well, 3 months, maybe a little bit shorter than that, and I don't think it's the Intercontinental Championship, because I don't think Wade Barrett's losing anytime soon. However, something can happen tonight. It makes me think that he might be in a little bit more danger than I was anticipating him to be in. I think Fandango is going to take the Intercontinental... I'm not used to... He's supposed to take the Intercontinental Championship. I think Fandango is going to take the United States Championship off of Kofi Kingston. I don't know when it's going to happen. I think if WWE was smart, they'd do it over in the UK. But there's a problem with that, because it's too early. It's too soon for him to get a championship. Then again, when Anthony Corelli debuted in WWE as Santino Marella. He won the championship on the first night he was in the company. So they've done this before, so maybe it's just a matter of time. And obviously, Fandangoing is still over in the UK, so I think he's going to get a monster pop tonight, next week on Raw. I just don't think this crowd was very good, to be totally honest, but we'll talk about them as we progress in this recap. So, we come back from commercial, and we talk about Money in the Bank, and we flash back to last week where Dolph historically cashed in one of the greatest Raws of all time on a very injured Alberto Del Rio. And they're walking to the ring, his triumvirate of the Heavy. I said it first, Michael Cole, you or one of your henchmen and underlings are watching my YouTube channel or have heard about it somehow, because I called Big E Langston a Heavy a long time ago. I also called him Big E Waste of Time, but that's another story altogether. And I always wax poetic about how beautiful AJ Lee looks. As a matter of fact, today I was actually on YouTube, and I went to, I was just kind of surfing around, and I found her NXT clip where she nailed a lot of WWE theme songs. That's all I really watched. She still looked absolutely beautiful, and she looked a little younger than she does now. So, not saying much about that, but that was only a couple years ago, so there's always that. Anyway, we come back from commercial break, and Justin Roberts introduces the new World Heavyweight Champion, Dolph Ziggler, as he, Big E, and AJ make their way to the ring. So Dolph gets on the mic, and he gets straight to the point. He says it's the greatest single moment in Raw history, and he questions just how he can top himself. He is the most charismatic, the most flamboyant, and he simply does it better than anyone else. He doesn't care that some people boo. They should remember when someone scores during an NFL game, or what Louisville did to the NCAA Finals, they showed off. That's what you do when you are simply better than anyone else. Oh, the crowd's not really into Dolph at this point either. They're kind of back to normal, jeering him as a normal heel, so they're booing him during this segment. They're not really giving him much, to be totally honest. So ADR and Ricardo Rodriguez both hobbling. Of course, Del Rio has got the bandage on the leg, and Ricardo still in my mom's walking boot. They make their way to the ring. So Del Rio did pride Ziggler in on his cash-in and his subsequent victory. But he wants his rematch tonight, right here, right now. Ziggler begs off slightly, but Vicky comes out, does his party right good, and says, I need a ref right now because that's a brilliant idea, and we're going to have the rematch right now because Alberto Del Rio's allowed one rematch, and he's getting it tonight. So, but before anything can happen, here comes Zeb Coulter, sporting his awesome red tie from WrestleMania, and the Dark Patriot, Jack Swagger, interrupting. Coulter says if not for Swagger tearing Alberto Del Rio absolutely to shreds, Ziggler wouldn't have cashed in the Money in the Bank and won the World Heavyweight Championship. Swagger's a real American and a real champion, not Ziggler. And Del Rio certainly doesn't deserve a second chance. Now, Del Rio initially fights off Swagger when he hits the ring, but Langston puts himself between Del Rio and Ziggler, and that allows for Swagger to drag Del Rio to the ring post and slams his leg into the side of it before putting Del Rio in the Patriot Lock. Now, numerous officials run out to try to break it up, and the damage is already done, and Ziggler and company just simply look on. So that's the end of that segment. And, yeah. That's the end of that segment. So there. So we see the tag team champions, Hell No. They're walking to the ring, and they're going to be in action up next. I'm going to guess it's probably going to be another non-title match. We come back from commercial break, and Swagger's assault is recapped, and we see Del Rio being worked over in the trainer's room. And just like I expected, we're going to see Hell No taking on another tag team. And this time, it's the team that they can't seem to stay away from, a team that is really badly underutilized. Darren Young and Titus O'Neil, the primetime players. I'm a big fan of these two, actually. I think they're really good together. And I really wish they'd do more with them. I mean, they're funny, and they're serviceable in the ring, so I really wish they could do some more with them. But obviously, the point is to keep everything on Hell No at this point, and I totally understand, because Hell No is on a collision course with the Shield. Speaking of that, next week we'll be in London, England for Raw, and as the internet found out, The Undertaker is actually going to be on those Raws for the next 2 weeks. Now, I don't know if that means he's going to be on the Raws for the next 3 weeks. Hint, hint. But, next week. Anyway, it's just 1 week, actually. I just looked at the calendar. I was wrong. So next week's Raw is going to be in London, and the week after we're going to be in Columbus, Ohio for the Raw that me, Alan, and Will are going to be at. So, maybe The Undertaker won't just be in action in London. Maybe he'll be in action in Columbus. Keeping fingers crossed. Right, Will? So, next week, it's made official. We have the Brothers of Destruction reuniting with Daniel Bryan to take on The Shield in a ginormous 6-man tag match. And I'm going to guess most of that's going to be Taker warming the apron, hot tag, clothesline, big boot, choke slam, tombstone, done the party. But I think it makes more sense if The Shield wins. So we could have maybe Bryan or Kane get pinned, so we can build up to the fact that the Shield are going to face off with Hell No at Extreme Rules. And that's pretty much the direction we're going right now. So Daniel Bryan starts off hot with some blistering kicks to Titus. And a huge one only gets the 2 count. So D. Young's tagged in, he takes down Daniel Bryan with a nice clothesline, and Bryan gets the ring cut off on him, and he's back in the Primetime Players corner, which he does not want to be in. Titus tags in, and he nails Bryan with some boots. He gets a nice rib breaker, and the laziest fall-away slam in the history of man. Now, it's funny because I'm actually reading Twitter and Facebook during this, and I was reading everything that was being said. And Scott Hall tonight actually was talking about Fandango and the fact that, like, welcome to the top. It's going to be interesting to see how you react to everything. Of course, I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said. Now, I was wondering if Scott Hall was watching this because Titus O'Neil picks up Daniel Bryan, and he releases him, but he's left standing. He doesn't bump with it. I would call it the laziest fall-away slam in the history of man. But I guess it works because he gets to tag into Aaron Young. Daniel Bryan counters him, and hot tag to Kane. Kane cleans house in the Primetime Players, as always. Knocks Titus O'Neil to the floor. Bryan nails him with the knee strike to the forehead, takes him out of action completely. Kane with a goozle on D. Young, choke slam. Bryan gets tagged in, hits the swan dive headbutt, which I guess we're calling the flying goat, and 1, 2, 3. 3.5 minutes. So Hell No celebrates, and up next we're going to find out why Ryback Pearl Harbored John Cena last week on Raw. We come back from commercial break, and we have a very, very clearly shot promo. Not a live promo, mind you, a videotaped promo of Ryback. So we basically find out real quick, I'm just going to go through this. We recap Ryback with a shell shock on Cena last week, and we see Ryback, he's just staring there, kind of breathing heavy. I'm going to give props to Jonesy on this one. Actually, I totally agree. It was, he was just breathing heavy, and he kind of did have a Sid Vicious vibe to him, actually. More of a Psycho Sid vibe, actually. He was kind of like, John Cena. And seriously, it's what it was. It was kind of like he has a bad problem with hyperventilation. So, yeah, get that guy a bag as soon as possible. Not a hefty bag, though, train. Anyway, Pat Monahan's crazy. But, I don't know why I even said that. I just wanted to segue. So Ryback's there. He brings up WrestleMania 29. John Cena was at the top of his career. He found redemption, and he won the WWE Championship by finally defeating The Rock. Ryback, however, finds himself at his lowest point. I don't really understand that. I mean, he lost to Mark Henry, but it was a fluke win for Henry because he kind of fell on top of him via a shell shock attempt, so I don't understand where Ryback's coming from them. Strike one. But that being said, each of them have only one way to go. Ryback to the top. Cena down to the bottom. So Ryback, which is funny because if you really think about the thumbs up, thumbs down, you obviously kind of get the irony of the fact that he's using it on John Cena, Mr. Prototype, talking about 100% fatality. So yeah, props up to the Ultimate Pro Wrestling special that I watched on the Discovery Channel many, many moons ago, where I first found out about John Cena. So, but anyway, Cena must be wondering why Ryback did this. Ryback said he had no choice after everything he's been through. He found himself staring up from the bottom of the ladder again, and that wasn't going to happen. Ryback talks about Cena being a friend to him last year, and even giving him the title shot when he was injured, the one against CM Punk, the one he lost at. Ryback says he isn't a sidekick. If Cena is Superman, which is something that the IWC has called him numerous times, say hello to the Kryptonite. Ryback asked Cena where he was when he was attacked by the Shield, all 7 times, and robbed out of the WWE Championship, when he backed up Cena every single time he got jumped. Ryback says Cena got lucky at the Royal Rumble, and of course we see video proof of this, when he eliminated him to get the WrestleMania spot. He says he is the biggest threat to Cena's title reign ever. No feed me more, Ryback rules. I'll get up to Ryan Reeves on this one, actually. No Neanderthal, Ryback, feed me more, chant robots, chant. No, actually, this was a well-thought-out promo, and puts over Ryback pretty well. I'm obviously still not sold on him, and I don't know when I will be, but he's not really growing on me either. It's just kind of like, I like where this is headed. If you go the right direction, you can still salvage the Ryback character, and I think they're headed that way, but there's still a long way to go. But this actually was a great way to start it out. This promo is really good. I know I said numerous times in the last couple of months about the Raw recaps I've done, saying Ryback should never be given a microphone. No, that Ryback, the Neanderthal Ryback, should never have been given a microphone. This new, more focused, more intense Ryback, more heelish Ryback, can't really call him a heel yet. Well, I guess we'll find out as we progress in this recap. But I like it a lot better, and I think that this actually could be decent. I mean, the crowd was kind of bored with it. This crowd sucked tonight, straight up. So, if you guys were in the crowd tonight and you're watching this, and I just want to give you this little bit of information. If you go to a wrestling event of any kind, it could be the WWE, it could be TNA, it could be ROH, it could be Dragon Gate, it could be Chikara, it could be JCW, or it could be your local independent fed that only has like 5 people in the back and nobody in the crowd. So, if you go to any of these shows, chances are you're not going to sit on your hands. You're actually going to react. Whether you are a so-called smark, or whether you just want to go out and have a good time. I mean, honestly, I've been to some events, and I've been in wrestling locker rooms, everyone knows that, and I still go out and have a good time. So it's all about having fun. I mean, I don't drink or anything, I'm straight edge. But when it boils down to it, I don't sit on my hands either. But I don't cheer the faces and boo the heels. I cheer who I want to. And sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. I mean, it just depends on how you look at it. And this crowd pretty much sat on their hands for most of the show. Now, there was a couple things, and I'll get to that as we progress through this recap, that actually worked for this crowd. But it's few and far between, so we come back from commercial break, and we recap how Brock Lesnar decided he wanted to kill 3-man band personally by himself, and make the challenge to Triple H for the steel cage match at Extreme Rules. So we see Wade Barrett make his way to the ring, and we find out this Wednesday on Ion, which I still have no way of watching the main event. I'd like to see it somehow. There's going to be a 10-man over-the-top rope battle royal to determine who Wade Barrett's #1 contender is going to be for the Intercontinental Championship. So, this is interesting. In the ring, we have R-Truth. Okay, R-Truth is a tag team wrestler. He's a former U.S. champion, I believe. He's K-Quick, obviously. He's Ron the Truth Killings, depending on what you want to call him. Fact remains, one thing about R-Truth they do not put over that often. He's a former World Heavyweight Champion. Now, Ron Simmons, of course, is referenced as the first African-American World Heavyweight Champion, and of course he won that belt in 1992 in WCW. But they really don't reference the fact of Ron Killings is a former World Heavyweight Champion. He won the NWA World Heavyweight Championship in the beginning days of TNA. Like back when they had the weekly pay-per-views. So, you don't really reference the fact that R-Truth is a former World Heavyweight Champion, but he is. He really is. So, we start this matchup, and I'm thinking, okay, so Barrett's in the ring, he's going to get rid of R-Truth, and he's going to have another devastating win. which is going to continue to elevate him and rebuild the Intercontinental Championship reign that he had before he dropped to The Miz at WrestleMania for one night. But, to my surprise, we start the match like this. So Barrett delivers a cheap shot to the arm out of the corner, drops an elbow for a 2 count. So Barrett gets some more offense in the corner, and he covers for 2. He goes for Winds of Change, and it was reversed in a crucifix roll-up, still only a 2 count. So Barrett hits a big boot, and goes for a clothesline. Truth ducks out. He starts to fire back up, and he does so momentarily, mind you, with the old hat rack crack, which is the sit-out French suplex that he used to use when he was K-Quick. And he used slightly when he was R-Truth at the beginning. Well, he goes for the scissor kick, and he gets clipped in the leg. Barrett locks up the pump handle, so he's going for the meltdown, the old Wrath finish. And he gets reversed. What's up? Which the snap flatliner, elevated flatliner that Truth likes to hit. They used to be called the lie detector, or used to be called the little Jimmy. There's so many name changes it's had. And 1, 2, 3. Yeah, Truth wins clean in 3 minutes over the Intercontinental Champion. Don't know where this is headed. But if Truth doesn't win the 10-man over-the-top Battle Royal to get the shot against Barrett, I would be totally surprised. It's pretty much a lost opportunity, and I have no idea why Barrett didn't win. No idea whatsoever why Barrett didn't win. But that's not the biggest travesty of this evening. I'll get to that in a little bit. So we see Bricky in the back, which is awesome, because I always like to see Brad Maddox on my screen, along with Vicky. And they are basically discussing the condition of Alberto Del Rio at this point. So Teddy Long comes in, he says he's already made the match. Dolph Ziggler to take on Jack Swagger in a non-title match. Of course, Swagger is extra motivated at this point. Vicky questions if Booker T knows what's going on, and Teddy's like, I don't know. Oh well. So, of course, we get a nice little video that Fandango's coming up later in the evening. So, we have to go Fandangoing tonight, so that's going to be awesome. As it always is. Commercial break, and why? Dear God, why? Dear God, why? Okay, let me start. Let me start real quick. The Rhodes Scholars, a.k.a. Mustachio and the Beard, are taking on the Great Khali and Santino Marella. I got a lot of problems with this match. Number one, they are underutilizing the Rhodes Scholars. They broke them up for a very small amount of time. They're not doing anything with the tag team division. They're obviously not going after Hell No. They're off doing these weird matches with Sweet Tea and Brodus Clay, who didn't even make the show tonight. And this strange match with Khali and Santino, which really don't have a reason to be teaming. As a matter of fact, the only thing good about this match is the fact that Natty got to be on television. So I see that she actually is on Superstars this week. She actually beats Tamina Snuka by submission. So it's nice to see that she's still working occasionally. But it also means that seeing Khali, I have to see that. Oh my God, I have to see Hornswoggle. Everyone that knows me knows I hate Hornswoggle. I want him fired more than anything. If you could fire anyone on the WWE roster, I don't care who it is. You could fire anybody in creative. I would fire Hornswoggle because I'm sick and freaking tired of him being on my screen. He is useless. He might be a nice guy, but I don't want him on my screen. There's no point for him to exist at all. I mean, there's no reason for him to exist. It made sense with Finlay. And it really did make sense with Finlay. And I don't like the fact that he beat Chavo over and over again on SmackDown. I hated that. I don't like the tadpole splash. You might be a nice guy, but dude, get off my screen. I don't want you on here anymore. I don't like this Oddities 2K13. It's just driving me insane. Do something with Natty. Get her away from this garbage. And seriously, just push her back towards Caitlin's Divas Championship. I mean, obviously you're not doing anything with that championship either, so, but at least they got a match tonight, but I mean, I'll talk about that in a minute. So, we start off the match, and before the match, Cody and Damian are on the mic, they bring up how they are the proverbial dwarfs upon the shoulders of giants, bringing decency to a den of ignorance such as Greenville. You're welcome. Damien Sandow, you're awesome, and you always will be. So Khali and Sandow start things out. Khali strikes first, hits a chop in the corner, like you do. Cody tags in, Santino comes in, and a little bit of comedy. Cody goes to work and beats him down, tagging in Sandow for some double team action. Cody comes back in to keep the attack up, and Santino eventually hits the Cobra on Sandow. Hornswoggle has a mini version of the Cobra on Cody, and Cody no-sells it. Like, you're not even doing it right. And he walks right into Khali, and Khali knocks him down, and Sandow uses this chance to roll up Santino from behind, hooks the tights, 1, 2, 3. 3.5 minutes. Okay. If you're going to keep the team together, set them a course towards the tag team titles. I mean, okay. Now, I understand the championships, by and large, really don't mean much. They're just props for storylines. I get that. That's fine. But, my God, the Rhodes Scholars and Hell No had a somewhat of a feud. Like, when they broke up, obviously, that kind of went by the wayside. And then they had this weird program with tons of funk. I still don't know why. And they lost. So, they're back on the losing end of the streak. I mean, obviously, the Usos don't make it on Raw. So, I mean, it's one step out of that. I mean, if I could have made this, I would have had Santino and Zack Ryder. Not only the fact that I'm a big Zack Ryder fan, but, I mean, seriously, guys. I think that True Long Island Story is coming back. I really do. I can't say when or where, and I don't know why I'm saying this, but I think, in my heart, I think that True Long Island Story is coming back to YouTube. I really do. I don't think the WWE's going to have anything to do with it. I don't think it's going to be something they're going to promote very well, but I think it's going to go back to its roots. I mean, we're going to see Chi, and we're going to see Prisco, and we're going to see the Big O, and we're going to see Zack's dad, Mr. Ryder, and that's how it should have been, and maybe Ryder will get a semblance of his pushback. If not anything, just getting back on television again. So, but then again, I have an idea for Zack Ryder, but obviously it's armchair booking, so I really can't do that. I mean, if it was up to me, personally, I've said this numerous times, John Cena being behind the Shield and the fact he's taken so many beatings from the group doesn't really mean anything because, I mean, he's still going to be behind the group. And obviously, he took a lot of beatings in order to prove a point that pretty much getting everybody off the scent that he is the leader of the Shield by taking so many beatings from them. So, if I had my way, I would reveal Cena as the leader of the Shield, and then bring Zack Ryder into the Shield, and bring Curt Hawkins into the Shield. And have Ryder and Hawkins, a heel Zack Ryder, a rejuvenated Zack Ryder, be like the tag team for the Shield. And then send the Shield off for all the singles gold. And, of course, you have Cena holding the WWE Championship, so can't really stop Super Cena, especially if he's super heel Cena, so. But then again, that's armchair booking, and the only way I can say now, if that happens, is I told you so, so. But then again, I mean, it's probably not even going to happen at this point, so. Who knows? I mean, a lot of people were saying Ryback's in charge of the Shield. I mean, I guess it somewhat works. The same exact thing I brought up with Cena. Took in a lot of beatings, but just to prove that he wasn't the leader, but I don't know. I don't want that to happen, but I just basically want Cena to be leader of the Shield for a lot of reasons. Number one, I can say I told you so. Number two, I can say that Cena's now heel, and the whole crowd can boo him now and not be a problem if they're booing him. But up next, we go Fandangoing, and it's going to be awesome. So we come back from commercial break. Jerry Lawler's in the ring, and you know right there this isn't going to be good. Nothing against Jerry Lawler, it's just kind of a death knell for any segment if Lawler comes out and tries to overly emphasize something, wanting to put over something a little too heavily, and that usually does not bode well for the person they're trying to get over at this point. So, Jerry Lawler brings up the success that Fandango had at WrestleMania, being victorious in his first match with the company as Fandango. Obviously, we know Johnny Curtis didn't really fare very well in WWE. I mean, after he won NXT, he pretty much got fed to Mark Henry, and he was in developmental between then and debuting as Fandango. So there's always that. We've seen this overwhelming social media sensation of Fandangoing over the weekend from cheerleaders, like the Houston Texans cheerleaders. They did it. PETA did one. And fans on the streets. And after Raw, drunken marks on the subway. It was really entertaining. So Lawler introduces Fandango, and he dances his way to the ring with his concubine as usual, which is a different person as usual, because apparently he's a different concubine in every single arena. So I guess it's kind of like the Godfather's hose. I'm not saying anything about the concubine that comes out with Fandango. I'm just saying that they're kind of interchangeable. One may be better than the last. So, who knows? So, he asks Lawler how his hips are doing. That's kind of funny. And if he can move them. Lawler thinks twice about it, and he's like, oh, you know what, I'm just going to go back over to the commentator's table. So Fandango asks the crowd who wants to go Fandangoing tonight with him. He gets a nice reaction from the crowd. So he tries to hype up the crowd. He wants the fans to pronounce his name correctly before they all start Fandangoing, and everybody has a nice Fandangoing party. And part of the crowd try to get his theme going, but it's not really close to last week, but they're still trying. You can still hear it, obviously. It's still loud in the crowd, and this is not going anywhere anytime soon. I like this. Fandango says it's obvious the fans can't pronounce his name correctly. He says they can all go Fandango themselves. So, interesting. He's still a heel, so, and after that was over, he smirked, and we still had the Fandangoing to end the segment, so there's always that. It's kind of like Daniel Bryan. He's the only person that can chant yes, and everybody else can't chant yes. It's kind of like Fandango can only... He's the only one that can pronounce his name correctly, and the people that don't, they are meaningless, and he can Fandango anytime he wants, but the crowd can't, so... I think he's still made, obviously, and I think we're still going to see more. And like I said earlier in this recap, he is your next United States champion. So I don't know if it'll happen in the UK, in London, next week, or it'll happen in Columbus the week after, or even in Extreme Rules in a couple weeks. But I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. I don't think Fandango is going anywhere. And I really think, on top of that, that the UK crowd will put him over to a high extreme. Maybe not to the level of the New Jersey crowd the night after Raw, but I still think it's going to be pretty great. Because most of those fans were from the UK, and they're the ones that got him over in the first place that night, so we'll see what happens next week. So, we go backstage with Matt Striker. John Cena is there. He's with the world champion. That's what you could hear. Literally, you could hear a pin drop. Or in this case, you could hear my clock ticking. No reaction to, here's your new WWE champion, John Cena. That's it. Crickets. Not even crickets. So John Cena says, I'm not a hard man to find, and I will be waiting in the ring for Ryback to come and find me. So we see Jack Swagger and Zeb Coulter come to the ring, and Swagger's going to face off against Dolph Ziggler up next, and of course a non-title match. I say this for a reason. According to Teddy Long, if Swagger picks up the win here, he is officially the #1 contender to the World Heavyweight Championship. So that's before asking Booker T, so who knows where this is going to go and if that stip is even going to stand. So, we go midway to the match, and Swagger locks in the Patriot Lock. Dolph gets to the ropes. Swagger drops Ziggler on the ropes, crotch first, and then clotheslines him to the outside. He actually hits the floor kind of precariously when he lands, too. I mean, it wasn't like he was ready to hit the ground the way he did. We come back from commercial break, and Swagger misses the shoulder, and of course he catches nothing but ring post. Ziggler hits a fist in the midsection, rolls up, 1-2, and kick out. Swagger hits the belly to belly. Still another 2 count. So back and forth, back and forth. Ziggler nails the big DDT. Still only gets the near fall. Ziggler goes for the name dropper, but Swagger gets him into the position for the powerbomb. and drops him throat first across the top rope in kind of a Eddie Gilbert hot shot style maneuver. Rolls up Ziggler from behind and 1, 2, 3. 10 minutes. Okay. Alright. You give Dolph Ziggler a lot of losses. And I mean a lot of losses. I mean, he laid down to nearly everyone before he cashed in Money in the Bank. Obviously, this was, like they said, it was to build sympathy for when he would eventually cash in and win the World Heavyweight Championship. Even though there was a lot of people in the IWC that were thinking that Ziggler would actually be the second man not to successfully cash in. Of course, we have to remember, even though the WWE will want us to forget, John Cena was the first person to not successfully cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase. Now, you have Ziggler win, gets a huge pop at the Izod Center, and everything's amazing, right? Well, the next week, you have to throw Swagger back into the title picture and have him beat Ziggler clean. Yeah. Okay. We're leading towards a three-way at Extreme Rules, and that's even announced later in the night. Three-way for Extreme Rules and for the World Heavyweight Championship. And of course, Ziggler will retain. But there really wasn't much in this at this point. And no reason for Swagger to get the pin. Okay, here's another thing, too. Like I said, I mentioned earlier, I'm straight edge. Swagger got busted for pot, and everybody thought he was going to win the World Heavyweight Championship, and it looked like he was going to, and everyone said he was going to, but he got busted for pot, and obviously he got a nice slap on the wrist. He didn't get to win the championship, but he's still in the title picture, and no suspension. Ask Rob Van Dam and Sabu about that. They get busted for pot outside of West Virginia, mind you. And Van Dam, who's on the top of the WWE roster at that point, he is both WWE and ECW heavyweight champion at this point, gets both titles taken out from under him, and basically gets fired from the company. And now he's on TNA. Or he was on TNA, and now we don't know where he's going to go. I still think we're going to see him back in TNA, and I hope so. I think it'll happen sooner rather than later, so. But who knows? We'll find out soon enough. I mean, everybody wants RVD and Punk in WWE. I mean, could happen. Might. Who knows? So it depends on what Van Dam wants to go. But this isn't about him. It's about the fact they took his championships away. Now, they took Swagger's championship away, but he never had the championship in the first place. In this case, basically, Swagger gets a slap on the wrist. Bad Swagger. Don't smoke weed anymore. Well, if you do, don't get caught. And you'll be fine. You'll still stay on television, and we'll continue this program. And you know what? You're still going to get a world title shot. You just got to wait another month for Extreme Rules. Yeah, that's fair. But anyway, after this match, Swagger and Coulter are standing on the stage. Del Rio attacks from behind, throws him into the set, and super kicks him off the stage. Hits that side kick while he's grounded. Knocks him off the stage. Del Rio uses the stage to apply the cross arm breaker, and officials come out, break the hold. Zeb yells at Ricardo. Del Rio taunts Ziggler, and he's still in the ring, and that's going to be the segment. So, yeah. 3-way at Extreme Rules, unless you didn't know already. Cena plans to confront Ryback in the ring later tonight, but coming up next, we hear from CM Punk for the first time since WrestleMania 29. Why was this not mentioned earlier on the show? We waited till the third hour of the broadcast to actually get to hear from Punk, and this is rather interesting, but we'll get to this in a second. Actually, this is interesting. We come back from commercial break, and Matt Striker, sans mustache, darn you, Cody Rhodes, is backstage with Sheamus. Sheamus puts his arm around Striker, he's about ready to speak, and then Mark Henry gores him into oblivion, yelling, "That's what I do." So he barks off at the officials as they tell him to leave. So yes, everybody said it on the internet, and it's going to happen. We're going to get Sheamus and Mark Henry feuding now, so that's fine. Don't know what that means for Randy Orton or The Big Show at this point, but yeah, oh well, who cares? I don't have a problem with this because I like Mark Henry, and hopefully he'll win the feud, and I go further in this program. I'd like to see Mark Henry get the World Heavyweight Championship again, but obviously he's not going to take it off Dolph Ziggler, so I mean, anything. You push him to Raw, let him go after the WWE Championship, let him go after Cena. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Obviously, Cena and Mark Henry would be a good program, but I'm just a former booker. I obviously don't work for WWE. I've done a couple indie shows, that's all. But I do have a little bit of experience, if you will. So CM Punk's music hits, and cult of personality brings both Punk and Paul Heyman to the ring, and Heyman looks rather confident, and Punk looks rather disheveled. He's kind of limping to the ring. He's favoring his foot, obviously. He banged, his knee. He banged his knee off the side of the table when he hit the flying elbow on Taker onto the Spanish announce table at WrestleMania. But he's favoring himself. He's wearing his hoodie. He's wearing his new CM Punk shirt, which I will have in 2 weeks. And he just looks kind of out of it at this point. So, basically, they're starting to chant CM Punk. The crowd's really getting into him. They're finally getting into something on this show. And Punk just stands there rather speechless. Lets it sink in. Drinks in the adulation from the crowd. And he finally grabs the mic and starts to speak. For 434 days as WWE Champion, he could never fully enjoy the ride because he was always looking around the corner for the next challenge. He was always looking for the next big obstacle. Now he found one in The Rock. And even after, when he lost the championship, he wanted a greater challenge. And he found that in challenging the streak of The Undertaker at WrestleMania. So by taking on the streak, he took the dead man to the limit, and Punk seems rather unable to finish his statement as the fans are dueling back and forth. Undertaker, CM Punk. Undertaker, CM Punk. So Punk says something to Paul Heyman, hugs him right in the middle of the ring, hands the mic, and just walks off. Heyman looks on, confused. And he walks up the ramp, but he gets off the ramp, and he walks to the side of the set, the side of the Tron, and just literally walks out. No fanfare, no mention of anything. This is what's taking CM Punk off television. So, this is what's getting Punk off TV. So, Punk will be really happy to see you back when you come back, whether you're a babyface or a heel, doesn't really matter. I just want to see CM Punk back, so hopefully we'll get that soon. And you've earned this time off, sir. You really have. And it's going to be nice to see what happens to WWE without CM Punk. So, I think this was Punk's swan song. I mean, I guess you could say he lost his smile. So, to quote a Shawn Michaels promo from I don't think we're going to see a Tell Me a Lie video with CM Punk, but still, I mean, we'll look forward to your return, Punk. We really will. I know a lot of people don't like you, but I think you're very detrimental to WWE right at this point, especially. We come back from commercial break, and there's dead silence, obviously. We have Booker T and Teddy Long. So Booker takes Teddy to task for overstepping his bounds. Del Rio might be hurt, but he still has a title shot, as does Jack Swagger. Now, both will face off at Extreme Rules for that championship. So, with Dolph Ziggler in a triple threat match. Just like I said, three-way. So, on top of that, we come back with a non-title match. Caitlyn, looking ever so much like Kim Possible, like she always does, taking on Nikki Bella, who has Bray at ringside. Well, this is my Juliet Danielle segment of the evening. Non-title match, again. So Nikki is wrestling while Brie cheers her on from ringside. They go back and forth a lot during the match. It's actually not bad. Nikki takes control, puts a knee in her back. Nikki gets pin attempts and some more offense. Now Caitlyn tries to fight back. Nikki keeps control, slams her head in the canvas. She fights up Nikki on her back and rams her in the corner. Caitlyn with a clothesline and a shoulder tackle and another clothesline in the corner. Nikki kicks the knee out and goes for another 2 count. She goes with a knee to the midsection. Basically, she pressed her above her head and hit a gut buster. Bella's pulled Twin Magic, and Brie ended up getting the pin on Caitlyn. So, basically pulled her in the middle rope and hooked the leg, 1, 2, 3. So, 5 minutes. 5 minutes for a Divas match is pretty damn good at this point. Ryback marches to the ring, and after we come back from commercial break, we were reminded, of course, Hell No and The Undertaker are going to face The Shield next week in London for Raw. We recap the handicap match with the Big Show against Randy Orton and Sheamus, as well as Mark Henry ambushing Sheamus in the back. So this Friday, to set it all up, we get a tag team match. We're going to see the Celtic Vipers taking on the Big Show and Mark Henry on SmackDown this week. So that's good. So John Cena comes out, and he's all smiles. Everybody is split down the middle. Literally, you could draw an equator down the middle of the arena, and you can get kids and children cheering for Cena and all the adults hating Cena. Or sometimes it's flipped. It just depends on what crowd you're in. He yells out, "The champ is here," as always. He calls Ryback the Ryback. He says the Ryback is back there, so Cena's calling him out right now. So Ryback marches his way to the ring. He paces back and forth in front of Cena. He sees what everyone sees, destruction. Where Ryback goes, people get hurt. Cena should be scared, but he's not. Ryback made his statement and showed what kind of a man he is. Cena made the open challenge to anyone for the WWE Championship. Ryback did nothing. He waited until Cena's back was turned, and then this week he showed a highlight reel of nothing but excuses. He knocks Cena down once, but he thinks he's the biggest threat. Cena's faced Shawn Michaels and Randy Orton and Triple H. Those guys are his friends. Friends are something, but the WWE Championship is everything. Ryback lacks the two critical things to being a threat: the space between his ears and the piece between his legs. Real PG, John. Good job. So, a week ago, Ryback took Cena down, held the championship belt for a few minutes, and he thought that much feel good, obviously, holding that championship. Obviously, that's the closest you're going to get for a long time. Cena thinks they should do this differently and says to take him down to his face just to see if he deserves a title shot. They face off intensely for a few moments. Ryback walks off to the boos of the crowd. So here comes the Shield. Now, during this promo, obviously, we actually cut to a guy who I'm pretty sure is now on the unemployment line who showed Seth Rollins getting ready for the run-in on the end of the show, and I'm pretty sure that dude got fired, if not killed. So I'm not saying if it's like kills people or anything. I'm saying that guy's fired. I mean, killed meaning he's never going to work in this business again, or any business again. He's probably hanging out with Ed Harris right now in California, selling grapes. So on top of that, we get Jerry Lawler actually makes a comment during the segment, and the commentators are obviously not saying anything during this, and Lawler's like, "Did I see what I think I saw? Did you see that, Michael?" And Cole says something, and basically Lawler's about to say something again, and they cut his mic. So obviously you weren't supposed to see that, obviously. So the Shield comes down to the run-in that everyone saw coming because of the flub-up from the television production. And both Ryback and Cena freeze up as the trio makes their way out of the ring. So, of course, we have Cena in the ring, and we have Ryback at ringside. Actually, he's up the ramp at this point. So, Ambrose, Rollins, and Reigns look on, and they decide who they want to jump, and they jump John Cena. So they beat him down, Ryback looks on, doesn't want to help, doesn't want to lift a finger. So Cena fights back, but the 3-on-1 is way too much. Cena ends up getting triple powerbombed, and Ryback stands on top of the stage, looking at Cena and what happened, and then he just walks off as the Shield stand tall. So that was Raw tonight. You know, God, I didn't like the show overall. I really didn't. I see the reason that some things were done, but I don't know why Ziggler lost. I don't know why Wade Barrett lost. I really don't understand what they're doing with the Divas division. I know it's kind of a throwaway for some people, but actually I see that with TNA, I know the Knockouts division works, and there's actually some sort of a demand for women's wrestling, so I don't know why they're still not doing anything with it. Primetime Players and Road Scholars still an afterthought, and Hell No still tag team champions of no real division. So hopefully we get Hell No and the Shield, and of course they're going to face off in that big six-man with The Undertaker on Raw next week in London. So that's it. That's it for Raw tonight. Not a very good Raw at all, and really sucked compared to last week in every single way. So I'm going to get off here. Once again, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys on SmackDown on Saturday for that recap. But until tomorrow, folks. That's all I gotta say about that.